Hello everyone, my name is Bjorn Orvar and I'm the co-founder and chief scientific officer of ORF Genetics located here in Iceland. But ORF Genetics has been developing a portfolio of animal growth factors specifically for the cellular agriculture industry. So we founded the company in 2001. We are now over 70 employees and we launched our first growth factor on the market in 2007. We are located in Kópavogur, Iceland, and our greenhouse is about 50 kilometers away from our headquarters. So we say that we have over 20 years of experience in biotechnology, and we have produced over 50 different recombinant proteins. Most of them have been growth factors, but also serum proteins, taste modifying proteins, and so forth. And we have been producing the growth factors for more than 14 years. So our technology, if we summarize our technology, we design a DNA program that we introduce into the barley genome. And this DNA program will subsequently control the production of those, let's say, the growth factors in the barley seed. So we need to introduce this DNA program into the barley stem cell, and from a single barley stem cell, we produce a plant. We produce many of those plants, and we screen them, and then we propagate them in our high-tech hydroponic greenhouse here in Iceland. So this is a high-throughput system, and we've been doing this for many, many years. So why did we select barley? We actually believe that producing growth factors in the barley seed is an excellent choice for the cell-cured meat industry. And if we go through a few of the things that the barley seed and the barley offers, first of all, by producing these growth factors in the barley seed, we have an endotoxin-free product. The barley seed is a very strong protein seed, meaning it has the protein machinery to produce new recombinant proteins. If you manage to direct the production into a seed, you also have, by nature, a long-term storage facility for those recombinant proteins, and this makes logistics so much more easier. We have, to some extent, mammalian-like post-translational modifications. It's very easy to scale the plant, and we can separate upstream and downstream processing apart. And then barley is a biologically contained species, meaning it's not going to cross-pollinate neighboring plants. And then it has a certain plasticity in agriculture. So about the scalability, we usually take the first 3-4 generations of our barley production lines within our hydroponic cultivation greenhouse in Iceland. Then for larger scale, over larger volumes of recombinant proteins, we bring it into in-field cultivation. And we have been doing in-field cultivation in Canada for the last 6-7 years, and also have been doing this in Iceland. This is just a recent photo of our in-field cultivation in Canada. So also, I mentioned that we can actually separate the upstream processing from the downstream processing, and this makes logistics so much easier. So we can have a cultivation in one side, we can store the seeds in separately, and then transport the seeds around the world if we need to do so, or actually do the downstream processing on site. I mentioned the plasticity in agriculture. This means simply that more or less you can grow the barley plant everywhere in the world. You can even grow it in Iceland, where the summer temperature is maybe 12 degrees Celsius, or you can grow it in deserts, so to speak. This means that we can select the cultivation sites for the barley outside this typical food production areas, and so we're not competing with typical food production with our barley plant. We can actually move the cultivation where it's not competing with the food production. So a little bit about our mesokine growth factors. So these are produced in our barley seed. They do include, the growth factor includes also some specific barley seed proteins. They're endotoxin free. We launched our first product in summer 2020, and our aim is to dramatically reduce the cost of these growth factors. And we're aiming for most of them to reduce the cost tenfold. Currently, we are about tenfold reduction in price, but we are aiming at up to 1,000-fold reduction in price. And using our system, we have an access to very fast scale up for these growth factors. But obviously, it's all about performance, and our mesokine growth factors have been doing very well in comparative study in terms of bioactivity. We always compare the bioactivity of our growth factors with industry standard, and these studies or bioassays are actually conducted in US. And we have been doing this for using SPH science in US for the last 10 years or so. So a little bit more about the product. When you buy a mesokine growth factor from our company, you do get the growth factor, obviously, but you also included in the product are these specific natural or native barley seed proteins that we include in our product. So let's say if you buy one gram of FGF basic, you would also have about 3 grams of these natural barley seed proteins. So our portfolio, we have a large portfolio of human growth factors, but we are slowly phasing out our human growth factors and introducing the animal versions of those same growth factors. And currently we can provide in hundreds of milligrams to grams of these growth factors. You can see here on the left, but we have many more in development. And as I said, we are slowly phasing out the human versions of these growth factors for the animal versions. And this is just to show you the timeline for species-specific growth factors. We already have introduced the porcine and bovine FGF basic, and we are slowly introducing or launching new growth factors from different animal species. But we are currently focusing on avian, porcine, and bovine, as you can see here on this graph. Our bovine FGF basic does really well. This is just to show a study, comparative study, where our bovine growth factor, that's the green line, was compared to industry standard at SPH Science in US. So we intend to reduce the cost of these growth factors, as I said previously, dramatically. And we are already on our journey. We have been able to reduce the cost of the growth factors up to tenfold already, and we will continue this journey until these growth factors, the cost of these growth factors are going to make it possible to produce the meat at a price that is acceptable by the consumer. So how can we lower this cost? First of all, in production, we can lower both the cost and the capex. Mind you, when we are producing the growth factor, we do not need bioreactor. Our bioreactor is simply the barley seed. So it's a very inexpensive, not capex depending system. So this will bring down the cost as there is no fermentation needed. And secondly, the purification is also easier. because we can exclude different purification steps that are expensive, as we can introduce or include the barley seed proteins in the final product. And if you can see it on the graph to the right, we compared different products that we were producing with different amount of these barley seed proteins. And to the left, we have 95% of the barley seed proteins, and 5% is the growth factor, and they do really, really well. So this means that we can simplify the downstream processing or the purification extremely, and this will reflect in the cost. And then we are continuously improving the yield through different DNA programs, protein bioengineering, and so forth. And finally, by bringing the cultivation from greenhouse to infield cultivation, we can furthermore reduce the cost of these growth factors. So we intend to continue our journey of introducing new animal growth factors at a much lower cost than they are available today, and we expect to be able to bring down both the cost and increase the volume very fast in the next years to come. Thank you very much.